Live from the Heartland. Live from the Heartland like every Saturday morning. And we're at the station. It's about 0 degrees outside. And we're happy that you're with us here. Thank you, Kev Mo, for starting us off. You know, when he sings "There Will Be No Sacrifice," I really do believe sacrifice is right around the corner here. One of the big ones is the Obama farewell, which has begun in earnest.
Well, that's a joy and celebration. I don't know if it's a sacrifice.
Well, the sacrifices come after the celebration. I'm just saying the sacrifice of giving up reason, intelligence.
Sacrifice like oppression?
Sacrifice is when you give stuff up for some other result. So you sacrifice money, time, work for a higher purpose. I'm sitting here, this Catholic girl from the South Side, telling this wasp from Connecticut what sacrifice is. All right, so we have a great show. We have a great show lining up. We've got
the class contradictions of the Live from the Heartland show.
Stop it. We have the co-artistic director of Stage Left Theater. We have the director of their current production, What of the Night, which opens on the 12th. We'll be talking to Amy and Carlos in a moment. We also have a fellow comrade from the radio station,
James Porter. He does once a month. He does a great show called The Hoodoo Party, R&B to rock and roll and all points in between. And I was listening to it last weekend, and I was blissed out and gave him a call and asked if he would come on our show to spin a few records and talk about his show. Because we want to live it up. While we're sacrificed, we want to have some good music, move our bodies, stay in shape, get ready for the next level.
So speaking of the Obama farewell, he is doing his farewell talk here in Chicago on Tuesday night. Folks were standing out in line this morning. Tickets are gone.
Yeah, I heard the police were actually coming and sort of pulling people out, saying it's over. They're already, all the tickets are gone.
Well, they were basically saying get out of the cold because it's not worth it. So, yeah, I'm sorry I have to say this to our intern Morgan Lonergan. I'm so sorry, Morgan, but I am going. I got one ticket, so I'll report on it next week. I'm glad to go.
I had hoped to go because you remember when he won the first time in 2008. I was about to go downtown when one of the guys at the kitchen cut his hand at the Heartland Cafe. So I spent the evening in the Evanston emergency room at St. Francis Hospital watching it on TV.
Well, that's probably not a terrible place.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was okay.
I watched it on TV in Ohio.
Yeah, but you were blissed out because you had just won Ohio for Obama. You and others.
We all had worked on it. So we're entering a new age, but unfortunately not one that does not come in without the issues of guns and mental health joining together to create yet another horrific scene. Yesterday it was Fort Lauderdale. Tomorrow it may be somewhere else. People feel unsafe. And
this is a guy who had been in the National Guard in Puerto Rico. He had fought, I believe, in Iraq.
He served in Iraq.
He had been in touch with the police. He said he had, clearly was having mental problems. Here he gets on an airplane. He had something went on that drove him to it, but he got his gun, which he had checked. I don't know where the bullets were, but it was after he came out of, to the baggage area, and he opened fire.
Yeah. There was contact with this person up in Anchorage, Alaska, where he also evidently served some time on the National Guard, but was relieved of duties and walked into the FBI in Anchorage, talking about, whatever the voices in his head were saying or getting him to watch ISIS videos.
They turned him over to the local police.
Right. So, without casting aspersions or laying blame on these folks who may have had contact with him. It's about the general state of how can someone check a gun on a plane, and no doubt the ammunition was in the case with the gun, even though the gun wasn't loaded. They said he went into a bathroom, loaded the gun, came out shooting. And the other aspect of it, of course, is our ridiculous, our immaturity around mental health issues, and that we have not developed a better understanding and recognition series.
No, I was in the 70s where they kind of closed a lot of mental health institutions and drove people into the streets. You know, it was all part of America scaling down its expenses on serving the people, you know, the privatization of things and cutting out government services. Well, it's an ongoing issue and a tragedy, really. It
really is a tragedy. And it's much more recent than that the specific kinds of mental health issues that have arisen are much more complicated, are made a little more complicated by pharmaceuticals, whether legal or illegal, that people are taking or prescribed. And I just think as a nation we should commit to looking at those issues and helping people out rather than locking people up.
Well, we were going to talk about it in our little political segment here, but you're basically talking health care, and we ought to look at the Obamacare situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, there's a lot of, in the news this morning, there's articles, I think New York Times, about some Republicans having second thoughts about, you know, getting rid of Obamacare. A lot of ways they want to just...
They may have heard from their constituents.
Yeah, they just want to cut out the funding to kind of undermine it. It already had, a lot of insurance companies had undermined it already. You know, there's 20 million people out there who got on Obamacare, they have health care for the first time. I know my family, my kids are on Obamacare, or a couple of them, and I think it's been great. And it seems like you know, an awful lot of people, a majority of the people, they're saying either they want to keep it even if they want it reformed, 57 some odd %, as opposed to 37% who want to ditch it.
Yeah, it seems to be being used as a political football when it actually has people's lives at stake, and we can't let the politicians forget that fact. In fact, the Affordable Care Act was never quite enough. It wasn't single payer. It still had the insurance companies playing a role in between. And we saw last year as Aetna pulled out and other insurance companies started hiking their rates, some of which was probably a little bit in a conspiracy to make it look bad with the election coming up.
In case you're tuning in late, you're listening to the Live from the Heartland show. This week it's Michael James, that's me, and Katie Hogan. Tom Clark is off today. Hi Tom, out there, hope you're listening in. And we are broadcasting from 26 East Pearson, the wonderful, cozy, warm studios of WLUW, Chicago Sound Alliance. What do we got on politics? Got any more?
Well, there is a state senate race in Virginia this week. It's a
yeah, all you Illinois people want to know that.
It's a special election. No, the reason I want people to know it is that this is how the Republicans got here. They basically paid attention to state politics. They ran people and won over and over, including our own state with Ronner, Republican-led states, which have led to a number of real issues. The voter suppression tactics run by the ALEC playbook, that's ALEC, the legislative playbook of right-wing Republicans at this point. These are crucial state elections, and we want folks to know that the special election on Tuesday is hopefully going to elect a guy named Ryan Washington to the Virginia State Senate. I got a notice from Jim Dean from Democracy for America, one of my favorite correspondents, and he keeps me up to date on this. If you need information, check out Democracy for America and what they're up to. Ryan Washington, he's a great guy. He's got deep roots in the community, lifetime of public service, and basically we want to replace, every time we have the chance, any of these runaway Republicans with God-fearing Democrats.
Speaking of Republicans, they do control the state legislature in Idaho, but they do not control the mayorship, or however we call it, of Boise. Mayoralty. The mayor of Boise came out with a pretty strong statement defending immigrants. which is one of the things that the Drum folks have been pushing, you know, anti-immigration, anti-immigrant. And he basically went into a long history of Idaho, Boise, and the role that immigrants have played, and talking about defending immigrants now, much the way that Chicago talked about as a sanctuary city. So that's something to keep a watch, how the municipalities that have overwhelmingly Democratic constituencies, how they react to the moves that Trump will make. Another thing that of note is that the Senate Republicans, Mitch McConnell and others, are going to only allow 2 days for each member of the cabinet that's brought up for confirmation.
Yeah, that's
only 2 days to talk. Only 4 Democrats can make any kind of statement.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, and that is exactly, people. You got to pay attention to this. This is limiting your input. This is limiting your senator's input. The guy that has been proposed as Attorney General, this fellow Sessions.
Jeff Sessions,
if you have
senator out of Alabama.
If you have not already, please sign any one of the dozen petitions that are coming into my email box about his unfitness for the job. This is a guy who was rejected, and we're talking now 20 years ago, rejected for a judgeship by Republicans due to his record, his lousy record on civil rights. He is unfit for this task. I mean, I don't know. It is going to be difficult to figure out which battles to fight because there are so many. But Jeff Sessions should get run around the block 16 times, and this two-day limits on hearings is untenable.
Well, there are a lot of things we're going to get outraged about, but we have to keep our cool and persevere. So here's
good news.
How about
is Elizabeth Warren
is
running again.
She is running again,
she made that announcement this week.
I thought it was going to be an announcement she's running for president, but it turns out she's just running for re-election. But that's very important. Now you have a few announcements.
Today at the Armory on Broadway, our public officials, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, State Senator Heather Steins, State Rep Kelly Cassidy, and I think the alderman there, Harry Osterman, will also be a co-sponsor of something Jan's been calling From Anger to Action. It's a big meeting, 2:30 this afternoon at the Armory on Broadway. That's at Broadway at Thorndale. Trying to gather the troops and organize which way we're going to be spending our energies to resist, basically. And the other thing happening in our town this week related to that is tomorrow, I think it's at 3 in the afternoon.
At the Wild Hare.
But no singing armadillo, I noticed. The Wild Hare on Halstead Street is hosting an event for Keith Ellison. If you don't know who that is, he is a sitting congressman out of Minnesota, head of the Progressive Caucus.
A Muslim, an African-American.
Sitting in the Senate, in the Congress. And he's being run for the chairmanship of the DNC. There's one other person running, and that's Tony Perez.
Also, there's an African-American, I don't know his name, from South Carolina. There's a few other people, yes.
Okay. I actually have no problem with Tony Perez either. He was Barack's transportation secretary. He's kind of a real sharp guy. Huh?
He's labor secretary.
Labor secretary, you're absolutely right.
I want to be careful I don't cross you and make a mistake.
No, you're absolutely right.
All right, and also our good friend Curly Cohen, who passed away, we mentioned that a week or two ago. There's going to be a service memorial for Curly tomorrow. Do you have any information on where that will be?
It's at Trinity Lutheran Church in Bridgeport, where Curly spent the last, I'd say, 25, 30 years. It's First Lutheran Church of the Trinity, 643 West 31st Street at 2 p.m., a memorial for our good friend and ally, Curly Cohen.
And next weekend, in our next show we will bring on some people who are involved in the upcoming Women's March. There's a march going to go on in D.C., in I think in a lot of other cities, New York and Chicago. So we'll have some fill-in information on that next week.
Yeah.
And we hope
we'll
that men and women both and
right.
all points in between, or whatever, everyone shows up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
more on that next week. So, why don't we...
Have a little music and then bring on, I think we're going to bring on our first two guests, which will be Carlos Murillo,
Murillo
and
and Amy Zerlong.
Okay, from Stage Left Theater. We'll be right back with our first two guests of the day. We're going to hear a little music.
And you're listening to Live from the Heartland, 88.7 FM on your dial. We're here every where this opens and when.
Yes, so we start previews tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We're presenting out of Theater Wit, which is 1229 West Belmont in Lakeview. Tickets are on sale online, and we open on the 12th of January and run through February 12th.
Wow. So get that, everybody. This title is What of the Night by Maria Irene Fornes.
I wanted to ask, it's a little related.
Okay.
You're at DePaul, and as I mentioned earlier, my daughter is also in that department, Koya Paz. What's the DePaul theater program like? It seems like it has some wonderful people in it.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it there. You know, we have one of the top conservatories in the country, great acting program. Koya and I both teach in the theater studies program. I had the playwriting
That's
program.
Koya Paz,
Koya
who's
Paz,
been
yeah.
a guest on our show
Yeah.
as well.
And love the students. They're super bright, and it's a great community of teachers who are, you know, really committed. And so yeah.
Finally, I would like to ask both of you if you would just muse a bit on the state of theater, live theater in Chicago now. I've felt for many years now, particularly doing the show and highlighting it the way we do, a vibrant theater community, it feels like, from all levels. And when we owned the Heartland, we did have a theater space. It still exists.
Theo Bouquet is still in there.
Yeah.
And also,
the No Exit.
And there's another theater company in the Heartland Studio Theater, Boho Theater. So we
Yes.
had two theaters going.
Yeah, and still do. So what's the... what do you feel? Taking the pulse of it yourselves at this time in your own careers, how do you feel about it? What do you like about it? What do you think could be grown?
Well, I think the Chicago theater community is one of the most vibrant, in the nation. I think early on in my career, I had someone tell me, you know, if you want to work here, you can and you will. And you can make a career here, and I have found that to be true routinely. I think the community is tremendously close-knit. I feel like it's a really exciting time to be making theater in Chicago. I think that the artistic community here is very in tune with what's happening, not only nationally, you know, in terms of politics, but also artistically. And I've seen people come together in a way that has been really encouraging to address many issues in the theater, to sort of build a safe and inclusive community in terms of work practices, but also in art making, which is just really thrilling to be a part of, and just exciting that they can sort of lead that charge in a meaningful way. So I think that's one of the great things about Chicago, and just the diversity and range of work you can experience here is truly tremendous. I feel like you can see shows big and small, you can see a range of programming, and I think it's a great place to be.
Sweet. How about you, Carlos?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's definitely excuse me, one of the destination cities in the United States for theater, and just the sheer variety of work across scales. I think one area we could do better is in terms of cultural diversity on our stages. I think that's something that the whole country needs to work on.
That's right.
And I think it's certainly better than what it was when we got here, because I moved here, as you said, 17 years ago. But it's something that I think that the whole community could really would be well served to.
Any overlap with the film industry and the theater people?
Are you asking me personally?
I am asking either of you, and if you know, I wonder how many people involved in the theater actually also work in films.
Oh, I mean, I think for actors, certainly, you know, I haven't.
But even at the school at DePaul, is it geared toward the stage, or is it?
It's geared towards the stage, but it's interesting because I found, and you know, our students have shifted because they're less. I think our students are more interested in being and sort of diversifying their portfolio in terms of what they'll do when they leave. You know, I have students who make web series, who've been on television and film, who write plays, you know, study acting and write plays, you know, and I think that the generation that's growing up right now is less kind of single-minded in their focus in terms of like, I want to be on the Steppenwolf stage and that's why I'm going to go to a conservatory, but that they're as interested in content generation as they are in being interpretive artists.
The last thing I was going to ask Katie was, you teach playwriting.
Yeah.
Is there a screenwriting element to the program too?
No, there is a screenwriting program, but that's a different college.
All right.
At the university.
Well, we love having you both here.
Well, thank you for having us.
The play is called What of the Night, and it opens on the 12th at Theater Wit, 1229 West Belmont. Carlos Murillo and Amy Zerlong, so glad you made it up here this morning. Thanks for coming out in the cold. And I hope your audiences are full and
we want to see the play.
Yeah, I do
come
want
check
to
it out.
see
Come
it.
check it out. It's going to be a
I
ride.
do.